Hello and welcome to the Digipen Daily Podcast. My name is Jason Eldred. I'm your host. If you have questions or comments, feel free to, I need to not touch this table, contact us at digipendaily@gmail.com. Like things, hate things, want to see somebody on the podcast, go ahead and give us an email. This is our first podcast, officially episode 1. There is an episode 0 out there that we do not acknowledge. No, just kidding. Thanks to Ren and Dylan for being great on there and really helping us getting things figured out. But today, I have two new guests who will be helping me go over a little bit of everything, starting with some basic news, and then they've got some topics they'd like to cover. With me today is...
I'm Rob. I'm a Bachelor of Arts in Game Design. And
freshman?
Yeah.
Right, same as me?
Freshman, but I've done a lot of physics with my life before that.
I am Nolan, and I am a BFA, Bachelor of Fine Arts, and I am also a freshman.
Mm-hmm. And I noticed we have 3 different levels of facial hair for the listeners at home. 3 different levels of facial hair.
You can tell through the audio, too.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think you can just listen to the quality of the speech coming through. All right, so I want to just start out with some basic news. Nothing too serious. Nothing more game-related stuff is coming later, although some of these may be game tangential. I don't know. The first big one is that Science Daily has reported that direct brain-to-brain communication has been demonstrated in human test subjects. The future is here.
The future is here.
We wanted to find out if one could this is a quote. We wanted to find out if one could communicate directly between 2 people by reading out brain activity from one person and interjecting brain activity into the second person, and to do so across great physical distances by leveraging existing communication pathways, aka the internet/instant messaging.
Lag is gonna kill people.
Yeah. It's like
it's going to murder people.
Imagine like half of a thought, right? Like you're receiving a thought. It's like, I've got to.
Bro, strafe where? Strafe where?
Yeah, right? And I think we're already getting into gaming applications of this, right? Which is totally possible. But before we get there, I just want to pull back the hype a little bit and point out what they did. The guy would think hola or hello, and they would translate that into binary, which is what you have to do. And then when it actually was received at the other end, they could stimulate the other person's brain in such a way that they saw a sequence of flashing lights in their peripheral vision. That, through binary, they could figure out was hello.
Oh, wait,
so they're hitting
0110, like
yeah,
so
they're
flash,
stabbing
the optic nerve of a dude.
Well, no, it was completely non-invasive is the best part. They could have probably done a lot more cool stuff. It was more invasive, but this is all just with EEG over the brain stuff and magnets.
That kind of, you could straight up get somebody to talk and then run it through a Google Tater and do that. Like, you could be talking with some guy who's speaking like Swahili.
Yeah. Well, if you think, that's one thing. So people talk about internal monologues, right? I don't do an internal monologue in words. I can if I'm thinking about a conversation I'm going to have. I think in words, but the rest of the time, I just think in concepts. And it was
Sapphira from Aragon or something.
I don't know. It doesn't seem special to me. And then I always hear people talking about their internal monologue, especially in context of there's something called cognitive behavioral therapy, which is where you're like, if you're really negative on yourself, you go, I'm not going to think that when you think those words. But I couldn't do it. I was like, I don't think in words. I don't know how to deal with a brain that doesn't think that way. But go ahead.
What do you think they're going to use this for? Because I see this, it's like, okay, science, future, technology.
Yeah.
But also, there's like
$20, it's military.
Boyfriend, girlfriend, they're going to be like, hey, sweetie, we should link our brains.
Improved sexting.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
I mean, well, okay, no, how about that
Improved
then? Empathy. Improved empathy.
If you could get their emotions, too.
Yeah.
Because then...
So that's going to the point of where, like, we've already kind of stopped the human evolution from existing, so now we're doing it ourselves by, like, hey, let's wire our brains together, man.
Exactly.
What was it, like, the Horizon Zero or whatever? Black hole, something.
Mm-hmm.
What? I don't know. I quit.
All right. No, but yeah, imagine, like, I wonder if even in sociopaths, if you're going into their brain, you could probably trigger the emotions. So if you had a kid with severe autism or or a sociopath or something, you might be able to go in their brain and to force them to receive the emotional signals of those around them. And here's the question. So if I said that was available to you, if you had a switch in your brain that you could turn it on or off, and you could receive those emotional signals that other people were choosing to send. Yeah.
I mean, now you're getting into some ethical dilemma, though.
Yeah, so it's all consent, right? They're choosing to send them.
No sociopath's going to choose to not be a sociopath.
Whoa. Multiple people linked together, hive mind.
Yeah.
Straight up.
Well, emotional hive mind to start out with, right? That's sort of what we're talking about. But if you're in constant thought communication, that is where you get into
glory to the Borg.
Could you possibly give some higher priority than others? Because then they would like
emotionally or intellectually.
Well,
probably both.
Yeah, now you're talking like trickle down like puppet master stuff.
Yeah. Well, I don't think we're into the.
It's terrifying.
Yeah, right.
So we're just inventing the communication. Hacking is the next thing to invent, like phone lines, right? They built phone lines, and then people figured out how to whistle into them to hack them. So first you develop the communication lines, then you try to figure out, hopefully, how to stop them from being hacked, and then people hack them.
So I'm both terrified of this and very excited because our level of understanding of the brain is pretty low level. Like we're like, oh, like that chunk does this thing, and it's all neurochemicals, and that's great. But the actual inner workings are so complex that we don't really get it.
Yeah.
And so this excites me because it may lead to further development of understanding.
Wonder if that would mess with somebody's lifespan, though, because you would be kind of poking around, like maybe not invasively, but it would still be messing around with the natural process.
Throw the hormone balance a little bit off whack, you could shorten the lifespan by 10, 20 years.
Or
you could cause depression. Who knows? Yeah. We don't understand it yet.
We already don't test on humans pretty much ever.
Yeah.
So
babies.
Like, screw it, we got extras.
Yeah.
Like,
hey, overpopulation. Sci-fi's lit class up here is great. The speculative fiction class.
Convicts.
Oh, that's getting really fun.
Nice.
But so the one thing that they have done, another thing that they have done that's more impressive than just flashes of light, is put an EEG on somebody, listen for the signals for like moving an arm, and so you can be sitting there, and you can, by concentrating, start moving a robotic arm up, down, left, right, start grabbing things. What I look forward to is for, I did one paper on this, prosthetics. We need to understand nerves. The nerve cells that run through your arm, digitize and undigitize that.
So we've actually gotten pretty far on that.
Just for the brain thing, but what I'm waiting for once we can decrypt what's inside the nerve signal from A to B. We're not there yet. I think the second we hit that, all sensory experience becomes recordable, right? Put those one at the base of your skull, you're getting surgery, you shut it off.
That's fourth dimensional gaming right there.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, but that plus like prosthetics in general, if like somebody gets half of their body blown off, whatever, it's still there.
Well, and cosmetic. You want another arm? We could probably figure that out.
Yeah,
I would chop off a hand for a cool robot hand.
Yep.
Would you?
If it was good enough, yeah.
I mean, if it had USB, if I could put my flash drive in there.
Straight up treasure.
I always think about that. Would I lose the top of my thumb to get a USB into my arm? Because here's my question, right? If you added an extra hand, if you added an extra arm and a hand, could you control it? Right? Like could you learn?
Chest arm?
Huh?
Like chest arm?
Yeah, sure.
we talking Doom here?
So we wire those nerves in, right, into your nervous system. Could you learn to control that? Or is it because it's not already part of you, just not going to happen?
I mean, you have to learn how to use all of it to begin with.
Yeah. So
assuming your brain is still flexible enough.
Exactly. And so there's a digital equivalency of that. If we wired into your nervous system a keyboard just through the end of your thumb.
Oh, man. Just plug the USB in my neck. Don't teach me anything. Just go.
All right, so we're already running through time pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I just want to briefly mention another article that I got a real kick out of, which is the LAPD warns LA residents not to microwave their iPhone. Apparently, on 4chan, they created an infographic that has been spread through Twitter and everything else.
Yeah, I think I saw that.
And it says, 90 seconds in the microwave can completely recharge your iPhone. It's branded like an Apple infographic. And they say don't microwave it for more than 300 seconds.
Don't.
This is the power of media.
You're gonna light your house on fire.
I know. It's and the fact that the LAPD either they saw it and they're like, we'd better tell people not to.
Or they've had enough reported incidents.
Exactly. Which is, I don't know, just terrible.
Don't believe what you see or hear on the internet.
Think of grandma, and she sees this, and she doesn't know.
Yeah.
She sees Apple. She's like, oh, all right.
Okay, why does grandma have an iPhone? Who knows? Why did you get grandma an iPhone?
That
Good
is
question.
like grandma an iPhone.
Yeah. All right. And I had a game recommendation, but I think I'll skip that and save it for.
See, I didn't read that article. I assumed it was, hey, you want to unbend your new iPhone 6? Like, throw it in the microwave. It'll nice and flatten it out.
I just laugh at those because I don't have an iPhone. So.
Yeah, none of us do.
Android.
Well,
I have sad Windows Phone.
I keep hearing about people with Windows phones, and the only thing I'm jealous of is that there's Cortana on there, and I'm a little bit confused.
I got this right before Cortana came out, so I actually don't have her yet.
Oh, I'm not jealous at all. Okay, good.
I will say it's awesome, except that I have to use Bing.
Yeah.
Everything is great, except there are no apps and there's no Google.
Yeah. I am completely tied into the Google ecosystem at this point. I'm on Google Docs. I'm using a Google Voice number.
Detox quick.
Yeah. All right. So, Nolan.
Yes, sir.
Let's move on to what you had. Movement in games.
What my biggest concern with games is that when playing it and you play with a character and you're like, oh, I'm running around and it feels good. Example, Infamous 2. When you ran around with that sucker, you felt like you were running around. You could feel the character through the controller. You just point at a wall and he starts climbing up and you felt it. And polar opposite would be something like Gears of War, where you still fear the character, but he's really heavy and you can get used to it, but it's still not the same. So I just want to see, kind of like in Mirror's Edge with the chaining of momentum.
That's exactly where I was going to go.
And straight up like Sonic the Hedgehog, the old stuff, where like if you missed a jump, you were screwed. You had to go back and get all your momentum back. I want to see that.
Yeah.
And my game idea is to make a game like that, where like you have to be a baller and time things right.
So I think when I've heard it discussed academically, they call it transversal, right? How do you get from point A to point A? How do you transverse this world? And it's one of the sort of most underlooked things. When we're doing our Game 100 projects right now, it's very simple to say, okay, I'm going to walk really, we're going to walk across the room. Great. Hold right, your character goes right. That's often a lot of your game. Right? And especially if you got an RPG or something.
Yeah.
Maybe that's not an action game.
Skies of Arcadia.
Yeah. I haven't played. Is it interesting or just hold direction?
Good,
yeah.
But you still have to spend a lot of time walking
just
around.
walking. And so I think there are more interesting ways to do that everywhere. And because it's the second to second of your game, if you can make transversing your world engaging.
Fun.
Yeah, fun.
Like when you pick up a game and you just start moving, and before you do anything, you just dick around with the character for a while.
Yeah.
It's fun. You're like, I'm
Exactly.
going to enjoy this game because I enjoy moving the character.
Yep. And finding easy ways to do that,
Yeah.
even at our tiny level of like game projects, is going to be interesting. Although I will say for Gears of War, what I think is really, I
love that game.
Yeah, no, and I actually like the transversal in that game. My friend's like, everything's slow. I hate it.
If you do the dodge and cover system.
The transversal involves dodging from cover to cover, which feels good. Oftentimes they've copied that badly, right? And it doesn't feel good. But Gears of War has that works. And even that you move pretty slowly and you can duck into a run, a slow run, but it feels interesting. It feels engaging, and I like doing it. Even if it's not fast.
It's funny you mentioned the cover movement system. I played the Star Wars: The Old Republic, the MMO, and every character felt the same except for one class, which was the scoundrel or the sniper class, which is where you could actually like duck and cover into different objects. And I was like, wow, they spend so much time on this one class, and I chose every other class first. I'm really upset because this is so much more fun to play as I'm sniping people in the head. It's like,
if I had known this.
Yeah, honestly though, and it's like, oh, there's nothing around you. Okay, I'm just gonna pop up a virtual barrier in front of me too. Like, cool. And that was so much more fun than everything else in that game.
I think one thing a lot of MMOs and stuff is missing is a sampler at first to let you know what all of your options actually are. Yeah. You're often like, oh, this sounds cool, I'll go for that. And then who knows how many hours later you actually make your next character. And you go, oh, I should have been playing that the whole time. Yeah. Or maybe you don't pick it up, and maybe you don't go back.
I disagree.
Yeah.
In that they're like, hey, what do you like to play? And they gave this list of things you can play, and then they all feel the same. That's what I feel is the issue.
Yep.
Like, Vanilla WoW, the classes were different. And it was glorious, and all power to the Blizzard. But then now I feel like it doesn't matter what class I play, they all do everything, and I want to cry.
Which I think brings us nicely into the next topic, which is sort of flow. Now, flow is something they're going to talk a lot to us more about in GAM classes and GAT classes. But I went ahead and I looked up on Wikipedia, because flow applies to everything. Flow applies to your workflow and everything else. Definition: it is a single-minded immersion and represents perhaps the ultimate experience in harnessing the emotions in service of performing and learning. In flow, the emotions are not just contained and channeled, but positive, energized, and aligned with the tasks at hand. The hallmark of flow is a feeling of spontaneous joy, even rapture, while performing a task. And it's got a strong relation to ADHD. There's this symptom called hyperfocus, which is essentially the exact same thing, except it's often described differently. Like, you lose track of time, and you forget you had to do things like shower or eat, right? Which often does happen to people while playing video games. And
or being in game school.
Yeah, or being in game school, exactly. You get so involved in something that everything else just falls away. Yeah, I thought, what do you guys think?
So that's more applied to like the entire game as a whole. Like if everything flows together, then you like. I'd like to point out, Brink.
Yeah.
They advertised as so much flow and movement, and they're like, "Oh, this is so great!"
Yep.
And then when you started playing it, it was nothing.
I assume we're not talking about the Disney Channel movie.
No, we're not talking about the Disney Channel movie.
Had to be sure.
But no, have you ever played BioShock or something? And you start just doing mad combos and crazy stuff, and like it just feels so good. And then you realize you've been playing for like a half hour. And
exactly.
I mean, I get that way in God of War when I started to learn how to combo. Then I just be comboing so much, and it would just feel so good. The connection was perfect. It was rapture.
That was a stellar game.
Yeah. I feel like there's the flip side of that is one thing we have to focus on, BAGDs and GDs, and is not goodies, game designers, is not only our classic, large, cinematic sit-down-and-play video game experience, but also mobile and crap like that.
Ooh, and crap like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, no. Hang on.
I took a video game class in 2006.
Yeah.
And my teacher told me that cell phone games would be the next big thing. Cell phone, mobile, it's gonna be the next big platform.
And so you got into it right then and there.
I was like, bullshit, I don't believe you. Sorry, I don't know if we can.
No, it's fine. I mean, we've already done it. Might as well.
And damn it, he schooled me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
Absolutely. And
like smartphones weren't a thing in 2006. Not really.
Yeah.
So
playing Tetris and Snake. And
yeah, like so there's like some seriously boring cell phone games, and he's like, look, this is about to take off. Like, look in your pockets. Look what these things can do.
And he was right.
And he was so right.
So I actually try to get into them. I tried Candy Crush because that's the one you care about.
Terrible example.
I know. No, exactly. I tried it, and I just didn't get it.
Candy Crush is an uninteresting puzzle game, and I do not see the appeal of Candy Crush.
Hang on. I think it's uninteresting to people fluent in games, right?
But I think you can make a completely interesting game to both people interested in games and people who are just looking to stick around for 5 minutes on my phone.
You played Robot Unicorn Attack.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Perfect example, I think.
That is a game that is on cellular devices.
Yep.
And it is phenomenal, and there's so much flow, and you just want to keep playing it, and every time you die, you just start over.
The music's beautiful.
Yeah. And it's a very good example of that.
Everything hits just the right spot.
You ever played Piano Tiles?
I have not.
It's a simple game, like black and white things come at you, and one of them's black and three of them are white, and you're tapping on the black tiles as they comes for you, and it gets faster and faster and faster. You're just like, and it's so simple, so elegant, so just like, this is fun.
Citus? Anybody? No?
It's I think so. It's a tap
with the little buttons that go up for the music.
Oh my god,
That's
it's a rhythm
wonderful
game.
thing. Yeah, it's a wonderful rhythm game. Not only because it has amazing music, but also because of the way that the layout is and the way that the buttons are set and the high score system.
Yep.
You just don't want to stop playing.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So both of the Robot Unicorn and Citus, they both. Here's the different models, right? Citus goes, hey, do you have 2 minutes, right? Or do you have 3 minutes for a song that you're going to play?
Yeah.
Which a lot of times you have exactly that. Robot Unicorn, I downloaded another game called Hopeless. It's similar go as long as you can style arcade survival, right?
Yeah.
So in both of those, you start, you've maybe got a minute, 2 minutes.
Yeah.
But then you hit a really good run.
And then
it's 5, 6.
It's that high. It's like,
for convenience for cell phones, the difficulty in that is awesome. Piano, what'd you call it?
Piano. Don't tap the tile. I don't know. It's like piano tiles.
Piano tiles. That's
yeah,
awesome.
survival.
Yeah,
So,
survival. But so from a convenience sense, that's really interesting because I've been in situations where it's like, oh, I was supposed to go to that thing, but I'm currently on a great run, and like, you can imagine like getting off a bus or something, right?
Yeah, you're like, no,
missing your
I'm not
bus stop.
getting off
Yeah,
the bus.
and so finally, there's one. I'm playing one. I'm probably going to take shit for this. Called Star Wars Commander, and it's a little bit like Star Wars Farmville mixed with an RTS.
You're talking about that.
You build gold farms and alloy farms, right? And you check like every 6 hours or so. They'll be full.
Upkeep game.
Yeah. And then so you build military units. Your base gets attacked. You build military units. You take them out there and blow up.
I think
other
the
people's
interesting
bases.
thing about those kinds of games is that
Yeah.
they build habits with you.
Exactly.
So you have the habit of checking the game continually.
I think it's really funny. I used to play a game in like middle school called the O game, and it was just an upkeep game on the internet.
Yeah.
And people thought we were the biggest nerds for playing it. And then they started playing games like Farmville.
Yeah.
And these exact same copies on their phones, and I'm like,
Yep.
It's just the graphics
Okay.
that are different. That's the
Okay.
only thing.
Yeah, all right. I was fighting in space. That's way cooler than farming. But okay.
Exactly.
Whatever.
And it's what I found fantastic is that when I start playing these games, I'll play for a good 30 minutes the first time, right? Because I'm building all the stuff and all the quests lead into each other and there's tutorials. And then I played one before this called Dragon Vale, which was a dragon breeding simulator.
Might have heard of that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But okay, so I play for like 30 minutes, and then I'll play for 10 minutes. I'll shut it off. The next time I play for about 10 minutes, and then I'm out of resources. I can't do anything else in the game.
Unless you pay.
Yeah, well, no, unless you pay, but
Or
it's
if you
fine.
wait.
Yeah, the game says stop playing me. I go,
So you look forward
Okay.
to playing it the next time.
I put it away, and then usually within 5 minutes, I'm like, do I have them now? No. Right? I come back in, I'm like, oh, I collect my resources,
Gotcha.
I put it away. So then, let's say I actually am realistic, wait like 30 minutes, come back, play 5 minutes, put it away. I want to play again.
Yeah.
And then that just becomes more and more constant. Now it's like, oh, great, okay, I woke up, so everything's ready. Let me check my phone to do this. And that, it's just brilliant at that Pavlov training response. Ethics, questionable.
Candy Crush.
Especially with the monetization model. You just gotta,
Yeah,
it
that's
works.
Trouble. That is trouble.
Yeah.
Man.
Although,
It's really,
at the same time,
interesting what people are willing to pay for
sure. But
and not pay for.
monetization aside, I knew what I was getting into this time, right? Last time, first time playing one of these games that really hooked me, had no idea. This time,
I lost $3,000.
exactly.
I'm poor.
Sure.
Yeah.
I wanted to beat every level of Candy Crush. Had to do it.
Yeah. I mean, your self-worth is clearly tied up in that, and I think that's a worthy life goal.
Had to get all 3 stars on every level of Angry Birds.
The 3-star thing, too. It's everywhere. I
Well, you
knew,
can make it 5.
this time I knew what I was getting into. This time I said, I'm going to build another little habit because it's a Star Wars and RTS one, and I'm going to have fun doing that. And I am. So even though it's this nefarious plot, I was fully informed, and I'm choosing to go to that, and it is enjoyable, right?
If you know what you're getting into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
definitely.
decided to pick up smoking. Because the social aspect, Mom, the social aspect. Anyway.
It feels so good.
Yep.
And then so bad.
This may cut into your time a little bit for
Oh.
later on, but telling pictures with telling stories with pictures only.
Okay, just
Yeah.
real quick, the thing is that we've been taking a film class and we're forced
Yeah.
to watch all these silent films and
right.
watch how the story is told with the film.
Yep.
And music is beautiful, aesthetics are beautiful, and I feel like people won't be able to fill up their games with crap if you're just forced to actually tell the story with the pictures, because that's what you play games for, is like story and like for you to be part of it and blah blah blah. But it's just wonderful when you're able to actually completely pick up on something like, oh, boy walks out of a building, a girl looks over at him and then kind of blushes, looks away. Boom, we know the girl likes him. It's not like, oh, you hear about Sally, she likes Jim, and you're not part of it. You don't understand.
Yep.
You're like, why? Why does she? I see no proof. There's no proof.
Right.
Senpai,
No, show,
notice
don't tell,
me.
right? The
Yeah.
oldest writing trick in the book, show, don't tell.
Exactly.
I think certainly for where we are in developing games and stuff, you don't necessarily want to rely on, being forced to rely on show, don't tell could make you do story that works, that feels important. Yeah, I think that's fantastic. There's some great examples. Journey. I always go
Yeah.
back to Journey. every conversation. I go back to Journey, just because it is. Let's see. I know there's others. Flip side of that, the project that we've just outlined to start working on is we want to minimize the visuals and do most of our work through sound, right?
That sounds actually pretty cool.
So it's going to be cyberpunk, sort of detective noir. So you've got the detective. Now, we know we can't visually, we don't even have an artist yet, right? So we know we can't visually have him expressing emotion through his face and crap, so get rid of the face. What is a detective? It's a hat, it's a coat, and it's some cigarette smoke billowing out, right? Yeah.
Straight up.
And then we have the monologue. I've got some theater and English major background here. I can write a monologue, hopefully. We have that monologue. We have it performed and recorded and put in the game. Hopefully that'll do all of our emotion for us using the theater of the mind crap.
But if you can do the same thing, couldn't you do the same thing with all 5 senses? If you can do it with like showing it, you could probably do it with hearing it, and you could probably
computer blows cigarette smoke at you.
Well, here we get into
tell a story by taste.
Yeah, here we get into a discussion of our different media. They have different strengths and weaknesses, right? So should you be trying to tell specific stories or do specific emotional things
in specific
media? Interactive media, that's the big one for this discussion, right? And I almost think it's more broad. You could probably tell through interactive media the same stories you could tell in a movie. Now, you have the issue, your issues actually come up from, no, but I want to do more. I want to interact with it. Not that you couldn't have a cutscene do that, or that you couldn't have that happen in the game.
Uncharted 2 versus sandbox game.
Yeah.
With thousands of... Okay.
If anyone has a problem with Uncharted 2, it's they didn't have more choice, right? They didn't make a fuller utilization. That they didn't utilize the interactive nature of games.
It's an amazing game, amazing experience, but if you want to actually, like, I don't want to go in that building.
Yeah, that's not available to you. The flip side, we haven't figured out really how to put narrative in that open world game.
I hate the fact that everyone wants these huge open world games. Yeah. I think that if you only accept that as the new form of games, you're going to be severely disappointed far too often.
Absolutely.
And I think we need to get back to a more linear level in a lot of ways.
Sure.
I think there's plenty of room for these huge branching exploratory worlds and greatness there, but oh my goodness, it needs to be cut back a little bit because they're fun. They're great. I love exploring these worlds. Don't get me wrong, these are wonderful things that people are building, putting a ton of time into, but they're always missing something.
Yeah.
Always missing something.
Can I just point out freaking Skyrim?
I don't consider Skyrim an Elder Scrolls game. I don't like Skyrim. I don't want to play it. I don't want no part of it.
This isn't about that.
If I can fight a dragon in the first 30 minutes of a game, I don't want to play it.
Hang on. So when you were talking about Skyrim, you mean it's this giant open world experience with lots of narrative.
So many options.
Yeah.
But then that's also like, what's the game actually about? Huh?
Yeah.
Is this about you getting like 99 and cooking? Is this what you bought this game for?
But you decide. So that is sort of the better. If you're going to put story and narrative and things in open world games, you start to make emergent narrative. You start to do, what is your story? Go figure it out for yourself. Now, my sort of question is, again, so you can go into that world and you can find a quest, right? And you can start doing that quest. I wonder if we can get better at marrying our narrative and controlled experiences into open world games. Because they don't have to be mutually exclusive. I think that the one thing that they haven't really done often is it's this open world experience, and now we're going to do something completely different. We're going to put something that feels like an indie game inside of your open world.
Toss it in there as part of a side quest.
Well, don't just toss it in there. I mean, but blend it in there, build it in there.
Must flow.
Yeah. Create flow. Yeah. This whole different form of flow. I think that more comprehensive, this isn't just this type of game. This is
so not jerky like
these
Saints Row where they just throw you into weird alternate game modes entirely.
No, I mean that's more comprehensive, right? It's like, and now for an 8-bit shooter. Okay. But when you actually start blending that and making a cohesive universe, which is where we get into Destiny, oh look, multiplayer and campaign and co-op all in the same world, that's pretty cool. Same character, persistent things. For all the shit that game's getting, so much it's doing.
I saw the funniest fake review for that game. in that it is literally just statement after statement about like this game is too hard, this game is too easy, the AI is too stupid, the AI is too smart, like this, that, the other thing. Just literally 500 things.
Oh my god.
And I read every single one of them because it was hilarious. Because I was like, yes, you could argue this for every single one of these.
Yep.
And it is awesome. That makes this game so good.
Destiny.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've only played the beta, so I've got pretty limited knowledge myself.
So this is something I wanted to talk about a little bit.
Yeah.
In that I tried really hard to ignore all hype about the game. I knew the game has existed for a long time. I'm super excited Bungie's making a new game. Can't wait to play it.
Yeah,
that was all I went in with.
Good job, Bungie.
Yep.
I did not play the beta. I just went right into the game. I bought it a few days late because school, and I was like, this is going to be bad. And then I got sick, so I bought it.
Nice.
Sick.
I wish I'd been sick.
Yeah. No.
I know.
And I'm having the most issues with my Xbox Live connection, and that's kind of shitty, but like whatever.
Yep.
And there's tuning things to be done, but the game's like a month old.
Yeah.
Like, are you really going to be complaining that much about a game that's supposed to exist for the next X number of years? That's...
Yep.
I see all the room for expansion, and it's going to be so cool.
Yeah.
I'm really excited.
You guys remember when Call of Duty 4 came out and everybody was sick that day in school?
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what?
Yeah.
Call of Duty 4 is one of the best of the franchise.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just pointing out how it's funny that people, everybody's sick. Oh.
And
They had very linear gameplay, but that was fun. That was the
Yeah.
point. The point of the game was to shoot people.
Yeah.
Yep.
They
had.
achieved that. They
The
did
game
achieve-
franchise still exists, but
I
yeah,
can't believe it still exists.
they still
I can't believe
have.
they're still pumping out a game a year.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
You don't know
Every
this?
year there's a new Call of Duty game.
Yeah.
Every year in November there will be a new Call of
In
Duty.
fairness, there's 2 studios, and so they alternate
Yes.
back and forth
Oh.
making the game. There is a 2-year development cycle.
Well,
Yeah.
Which
this
is
year better
smart.
have cats with higher quality than the
I
other
mean,
ones.
but they put out a polished game every
Yeah.
time because
they did something good, and then they make it again with slight iterations.
They take the piece of poop that they put on the plate last time,
Yep.
throw it in the microwave with their iPhone, and then
Yeah.
take it back out and then serve it to you.
and they wonder why their iPhone doesn't work.
And their house is burned down
Exactly.
because you don't put metal in the microwave.
LAPD.
And to flip that, of course, there's a thing people like and are buying, and they like it and are buying it for a reason. It sucks that no one else can even compete in that space of, I don't know.
Shooters.
But, huh?
Shooters?
I don't know. It just, when a game like that gets so much money and attention.
monopolized.
Yeah, it sort of monopolizes the space. Not monopolizes, because you do have other shooters that come out along that, but it still means that how many other interesting creations can't come out because that does.
Yeah.
So they tried it with Titanfall.
Yeah,
Titanfall was enjoyable for about a minute,
yeah.
and I was like, okay, I'm playing Call of Duty, and sometimes there are robots.
Yep.
And then I played Destiny, and I was like, wow, this is much more interesting. I hope they balance it a little bit, and
Yeah.
they're working on that. Because something like that requires a lot of balance. It's a new thing,
Yeah.
and they're trying to balance it, and I hate to become a fanboy for this thing, but like, I'm really excited.
On your way? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really on my way.
I'd like to, with all these giant companies that are coming out with so many games, like I don't want to say they're the company who shall not be named, EA, and then there's Bungie, and then there's
Activision Blizzard.
yeah. So just those huge companies that are always pumping out games, it makes me wonder, like, what would happen if
Well, in all fairness, Bungie does not pump out games.
Yeah.
they're a giant
I think,
in the realm.
aren't we talking about publishers and studios now? Like, those are...
So they're
Yeah.
now they're like, so EA is a huge publisher as well as a
Okay,
huge game
yeah.
producer. So they publish a lot of stuff. Bungie has not made that many games.
Right.
Realistically, they made
Oh,
Halo
what's
1,
happened?
2, 3.
Yeah, what's happened is the other Halos are now made by other people.
Yeah, 343 is
yeah.
Microsoft,
There were-
and they make Halo 4 and everything from here on out.
And they have been coming out with a lot of Halo games.
Oh, yeah, they have been making
I mean, one
little
was an
weird-
anniversary edition, which almost like doesn't count, and that makes things confusing.
I was actually really happy about
No,
that.
absolutely, but I
played through
meant
it and
as
it
far
was
as new game, it's you wouldn't go, oh, there's a new Halo
But, like,
game.
They made Spartan Assault, which
Yeah.
I digged around for like a minute the other night. And I was like, it's like an arcade game, like Call of Duty Black Ops, when you go on the little computer console and you get to play the little arcade game. It's fun.
Not that I'm like complaining about it, but
Yeah, sorry.
the fact that these giant companies exist means that they made a lot of money doing what they were doing, right?
Yep.
So I'm just worried about the condition of it. And I know, like, big companies, but when it becomes all about just the money,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and then you're gonna have to have people that are starving in their basement, making something for people to actually enjoy versus the big boys.
So you get things like Minecraft.
Exactly.
And Notch just sold that for like what, $1.8 billion to Microsoft.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
It's like I wish there is there a filter for that kind of stuff so you can just be like, oh yeah, this was made by people with
Indie games.
under 40K salary.
Dude, go on Steam, find games that are $10 or less.
Sold. Steam.
I mean,
it's too hipster to Steam.
Humble Bundle.
Yeah.
Go on Humble Bundle, pay what
Bundle's
you want for
Okay,
games.
I've heard about that.
Yeah.
Check out the PAX 10 every year. They're usually pretty great indie games.
Yeah.
There's a game called Duet, which is, speaking of flow, you control two balls that are
Oh my God,
connected
I have
on the
that.
circle.
Whoa.
And oh my gosh.
And the music
Things
and the
fall from
narration.
the skies and it makes annoying little quips at you with like white text on this background.
Apocalyptic.
It is so fun.
Yeah, I've got it on my phone.
It's the
I'll
most
show you.
it's the most like my brain's twisting around these things with these balls and it's
Yep.
ugh.
But absolutely
Give me
what's
more.
happened is the big budget is there,
Yeah.
and then there's the indie growing from the
It's
bottom.
straight up turning into like a have and have not situation.
Kind of, yeah.
I mean, like,
except that,
everything.
Almost like society or something.
yeah. And but at the same time, the art that is coming from the bottom right now is fantastic. But as for the big companies, I will say I have two goals. It's two game jobs that I want in the game industry. Tons I'd be fine with.
Sell out.
Two that I want. One is creative director, right?
Sure.
Screw it, I want to captain the ship. I want to go. We're going to do something crazy like Destiny. We're going to just go a completely different direction, try something that's never been tried. The other is kind of the same thing, is a skunk works, right? Is the little part of a big company that they go, we need somebody to like actually, I was going to say improvise, innovate. Something to actually innovate in game space. So go build us a prototype. Let's see what we could possibly do.
So you're the guy that gets paid to just make things.
Screw around. Yeah.
So I see little pieces like that. Like I see 343 potentially being that.
Yeah.
I think they could be that cool. Like people who made Mirror's Edge, they were produced by EA.
Yeah.
Like
That's true.
these little tiny development companies exist, and you can absolutely
Yep.
get there. It's the publishers who are like, but we want this.
Yep. I think we have to. The art part is a community, and we have to focus on growing and fostering and getting more money into that community, as well as bringing the big companies going, hey, how would you feel about helping support this little company for what money they'll produce? Yeah. With film, a lot of companies are now going, oh, look, when you make a small film and you target it at an audience, you get some pretty good returns because you make them for almost nothing.
Yeah.
And then
Cult classics pop out now
yeah.
and then.
And so in film, the last thing I was listening to said that they were trying, the studios are trying to like fund those little development houses and stuff. Finally, we've got a little bit of time left.
Sure.
Did you want to talk about the stagnation of everything? Yeah.
I want to talk about sports games.
All right.
Because
I know nothing. Inform me.
So I think there's stagnation in video games. There aren't new things coming through, and I think an untapped market is a creation of a sport designed to be a video game. I'm talking about you don't take football or basketball and turn it into a video game. I mean, create a sport that is almost plausible in real life, but make it not plausible. Like, okay, you can wall run. Okay, you're playing basketball with wall running.
Hey, that's
But
dude,
I don't want basketball with wall running. I want a different sport with wall running that I've created for this space because I don't want NFL. I don't want blitz. I don't want just a football game with like special power ups. No, I want a completely unique experience that feels like I'm playing a sport in a video game.
So something that could straight up be one of those things where everybody's in the stadium watching these dudes play the game because it's actually designed for that.
Like Thunderdome. Like, give me a post-apocalyptic sports game, or like a future like Ender's Game like battle room.
Yeah,
like, I want a game that feels like a sport. It's a competition. It turns beautifully into an e-sport. People will love it and pay me lots of money. And
wait, so are you talking about going to this game and watching people play a sport designed to be turned into a video game?
No.
Or are you talking about going to a stadium and watching people playing a video game projected up?
This is 100% digital.
Yeah. All right.
Like people stand in like crowds to watch people play League of Legends.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is a cool production.
Like they're filling up entire stadiums with people. And they're selling out tickets.
So it's just bringing the fantasy down to like the sports level.
Bring it into a world of just an offshoot of reality.
Yeah.
And make it this cool, like, wow, like this is almost Space Jam, but like
Yeah.
not basketball. Sorry, you were talking about Space Jam earlier. It's like, I'm Michael Jordan, my arm's stretching across the room.
Yeah.
Like, no, not that silly. Like, people are still people.
Sure.
They can just do like cool flips and stuff.
That sounds awesome.
Can do.
I know, I understand that,
man.
but
Come on.
It's a heightened version of reality where
Yes.
people are always
so
doing
like
flips.
augmented, like
okay, you're playing on the moon now. Like,
exactly.
you can change cool
different
things because we
terrain
have
and
this pliable thing to work with. It's
Yeah.
It's almost like a video game or something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Whoa.
well, and I think video games do often go for the long, like all the way out to beyond fantasy. Like we always go high fantasy, right? It's either you're a soldier or you're a future soldier or a space marine, and we don't do a lot in the space of
Right now.
Yeah,
Augmented
right now and slightly augmented right now.
Yeah, it's like for esports you have like Madden,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have the other esports which are like League.
Yeah.
It's like there's no in between there.
Dude, also, just because Super Smash Club is today at 6 o'clock, Super Smash Bros.
Go there
Melee-
now. Wait, I mean, this is coming
No,
out.
it became a thing because of the skill of the players. That
Yeah.
was the big thing.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
those games that you're talking about,
It's not about how I've customized my character.
it's about how
am I
well
good at
you
this?
play at the game.
Yeah.
Can we work as a team? Can we do this,
Yeah.
that, the other thing?
And if you could pull that back a little bit
Brain coding.
and make it into something that you could then go, hey, you've been playing this game on the console, now go outside and play it, I think that would be amazing. Because I think that the principles that we apply to game design at video games, when applied to sports, really do work. And I think that if we can make it something that does that you learn the strategy and like the higher levels of play.
And you could have people role playing
Yeah.
as the game, but it's
Yeah.
actually a game in real life.
Or
so it doesn't
even like
matter.
playing it as a sport, but now you understand. I'm not going to understand the higher levels of football by playing it out in the
like
field.
what the frick
right?
is like a reverse pass? I don't
Sure.
know.
If I play it in a video game, I'll know, but then I can't go out and play football.
Yeah.
Bridge that gap for me. Let me go both ways.
I could coach football, but I couldn't play it.
Yeah.
I'm too
No,
weak.
exactly.
Too good, guys.
Too weak.
Make some. If you made something that goes both ways, I'd definitely be playing it on the consoles and out in the field. So that would be amazing. Yeah. All right. So it's time to wrap it up. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Nolan, for being here today.
Of course.
Any closing thoughts?
EA sucks.
We're not allowed.
We'll be hired by them
Yeah,
someday,
we're not
so I
allowed to
can't
diss
say that.
people who might hire us.
Melee rocks.
There we go. Super Smash Club, got a shout out here. Improv Club is happening Tuesdays and Thursdays. No, Wednesdays and Thursdays. She's going to kill me. At 4. My roommates run that, so just giving it a shout out. Yeah, I think that's it for today. This has been the Digipen Daily Podcast. If you have suggestions for our podcast, for, hey, get some better recording equipment. Complaints. If you want to be on the podcast, go ahead and give me an email at digipendaily@gmail.com. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll have another recording hopefully in a week. Thanks.